You're still watching Prime Morning, and it's time for us to delve into what the newspapers have for us. Our guests are seated right now. From the NDC is Richard Manuribi. Today he came quite early. Good morning, Richard. How are you today?
Super.
Did you sleep well?
Yeah, I did.
Really?
Yeah, I did. But somewhere along the line, I have to wake up and think of some things. Because if you look at people, people are keeping their monies in their rooms.
You don't keep money in your room?
What do I get it from? You know, last month they were even talking about it. They said were saying there was no law in those things. But also, it's terrible.
So you don't have even one city in your room?
Where did I have the money from?
Hey, Richard, how did you make it here? How did you pay for your food?
If you know how I got here, you will feel pity.
Well, the ticket of the NPP is Osman Kariama. Good morning, Osman.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Vice Grace.
Welcome to Prime Morning.
Thank you very much.
Great. All right, so we'll see what the newspapers have, and then we delve into our topics for today. So I'll start off with the Republic Press newspaper. Number one makes fresh promise, and we know that on Friday he actually had the statement come out telling, the people that he's owing that he's definitely going to pay all their debts very soon. So they should just relax. This time around it's going to happen. Fingers crossed. Well, some of us, fortunately, don't have our monies there, not even one Ghana cedi there. But for those who have their monies there, we still sympathize with them because it's not been easy losing all that money, all this while and surviving without your money. But finally, he has made another promise. We are hoping it won't be an empty promise, but rather he will follow suit. Minta Akando escapes death, and we'll talk about that as well. Is it a case of reckless driving, or it has to do with the state of our roads? What actually happened? We'll talk about that. Martin Amidu makes case for Cecilia Dapa, calls for investigations into security breaches. CJ inaugurates Kwabena Circuit Court Complex, urges judicial service staff to be fair and disciplined. Ghana to achieve universal electricity assets by 2024, says a Deputy Energy Minister. Atta Mills was the personification of humility, Professor Lumumba says so. That'll be all for the Republic Press newspaper. I'll do the Finder newspaper. The Finder. Asin Central Delegate route for Dr. Baumia. Nanabi donates to Tafo Government Hospital, inspects ongoing construction of a 30-bed children's ward. Wildlife Resources Management Bill passed into law. Stop gap solutions widening rich-poor divide, says Dr. Ankra. BOG incurs 60.86 billion Ghana cedis losses in 2022, leading to a 55.12 billion Ghana cedis negative equity position. That'll be all for the Finder newspaper. Let me do the New Crusading Guide newspaper. The New Crusading Guide newspaper reads, Mid-year budget review, suspend insensitive lottery and sports betting taxes. CSBO to Ken Oforiatta. We know today, hopefully, we'll hear the budget review. We don't know what's going to be in there, but we'll discuss what we are expecting to be in there during our discussion very soon. Inoknyako picks forms to contest Jaman North NPP seat. Ofosun Council support thousands in Asante Achim Central. Government releases 3 million Ghana cedis to senior high and TVET schools, and Minister drags Common Fund boss before Akufo-Addo. Let's do the Daily Statesman newspaper. Finance Minister presents mid-year budget today. Witchcraft accusations now criminal. Hooray, I'm excited about this. UCC honors Napo with Doctor of Education Leadership, and NPP urge to employ strategic communication to address voter apathy. I'll do the Daily Graphic newspaper as well. And 204 candidates sit for WASI, and we are wishing them well. I remember when I wrote my WASI some time ago. I won't tell you the number of years, but I'm just 25 years, so we're still good to go, right? Anyway, I know how we have to burn the midnight candle, sometimes put our legs in water just so that we can study, and you get there, you realize all you studied was not in the question. So wish them well. We wish them well. Passage of Wildlife Resources Bill progressive, says Jinapo. Financial irregularities. Auditor General uncovers 15.1 billion Ghana cedis. Public boards, corporations involved. Curbing indiscipline in SHS. Scrap boarding system. Educationists propose. Ooh, really? Some of us are even thinking about pushing our children into boarding houses. NSS biggest farming project comes alive. First maize harvested to support free SHS. This is a step in the right direction. The back page, government makes strides in bridging gender gap in ICT. Communications Minister says so. And farmers at Aveime call for investment to develop irrigable lands. Okay. That will be all for the Daily Graphic newspaper. We'll do our final newspaper, which is the Daily Guide. No, I think I have the publisher. Let me have the publisher, please. All right. So the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper, when about to hold 2023 ECOWAS Parliament, Jinapo applauds passage of Wildlife Bill, says it's a game changer for wildlife management. Tampuli extols RMU's professionalism, and 8,000 government affordable housing coming, says Asensu Boache. Good morning, Honorable. I know you watch us every morning, so a very good morning to you. I'm coming your way. It's a good thing. So some of us will be knocking on it because affordable housing, we need some more. But where do all the houses go though? Because sometimes we are just wondering where we can get. Richard Meneribi, my God. Daily Guide newspaper, Joaboso, MP in a near fatal accident. Asin Central delegates route for Baumia. Nana Sachs, Bosome, Freho, DCE. Hot race for Mahama Veep. We see a picture of Julius Debra. Will he really give it to Julius Debra? I think over the weekend, we also heard that some people in the central region were not too happy because they had heard that their very own Nana Apoko might not be the chosen one for, John Dramani Mahama, and they are not too happy about it. Well, they are saying they are waiting to see, and it will be a decider for them as to whether they will vote for the NPP or the NDC. But others were also saying, even when she was chosen to be the running mate for, John Dramani Mahama, did you vote for her? Did you vote? Did they win massive as they expected in Central Region? Was the question. We also see a picture of Professor Joshua Alabi. In the center spread, we have some mini graduates from Gempa. I can't reunite with Shatawale, says Michi, and Diamond offering a live worship launched. Okay, BOG records a 60.8 billion loss, Ghana cedis loss, unlocking Ghana's oil potential with Jubilee Southeast projects, and Namibian legislators understudy NPA's operations. The backstory, which happens to be sports, Minister seeks Nana's approval for World Cup cash usage. Sebastian Barnes returns to Hearts. City end pre-season in defeat, and New Zealand crash out from Women's World Cup. That'll be all for the Daily Guide newspaper. So, gentlemen, you have heard what the stories are saying, but let's start off with our budget review that we are hoping it's going to happen today. It was supposed to have taken place last week, but it didn't happen. Now it's going to happen. Fingers crossed that it won't be cancelled again, but it's going to happen. And our expectations for the CS mid-year budget review. Let me start with you, Richard.
Rosen, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers, and good morning to His Excellency, the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and your crew. And let me also say good morning to the good people of Kwanta South and the OT region as well. Rosen, there's a sad story. I think that is very important. We'll talk about it, even though I'm not your producer. But they said the 50,000 deaths of children. Have you checked it on Daily Guide? I don't know whether you read it.
This one, yes. Daily Guide?
50,000 annual child deaths. It's terrible. Last week I told you here that the sanitation minister and the Minister of Sanitation report shows that 509 children die per annum because of lack of sanitation. And we have 50,000 children died in a year. It is sometimes, when I look at what is happening in this our country, it's terrible.
And you think it has to do with sanitation?
Oh, it has to do a lot of things, not only sanitation. I mean, it has to do with a lot of things. It has an effect on the economy. I mean, it has effect on so many things. Some of them, malnutrition will be a factor. Some of them, child mortality. Some of them, too. It comprises a lot of things that happens. And I think that government and all of us must look into these things and take a critical look at it, because investing pregnancy for 9 months and you lost that as a child. Just imagine that out of carelessness, if my mom or my dad has lost me today, how will I have contributed to the national development? So it's something we should look at critically, very, very, very critically. And also all those things boil down to the budget we are talking about, Rosalind. As today that the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, is going for a mid-year budget review, I think that there's nothing new. The national will be expecting. And I think that he will not listen. I don't even know that if parliamentarians will even go to parliament today, because even the MPP parliamentarians doesn't even want him. So we are living in a times that is very hard for all of us. And I know what I'm expecting, that the normal relax is about they are in difficult times. COVID, Russia, Ukraine war will come in. And I'm expecting that they will go and tell me that His Excellency President Mahama didn't do well after 7 years after that.
Well, from what is being said, there's going to be more discussions on the IMF money that came in March. That's a $600 million US. Of course, there's an expectation of another $600 million US to come in November. So this will be spoken about. It's not, you know, they are not going to talk about what John Dramani Mahama didn't do.
Just expected by 10 o'clock, Ken Ofori-Atta will be in Parliament, mid-year budget review. He's going to just put blames on President Mahama.
When did you hear him
super incompetence.
The last budget review, he never spoke about it.
He put burdens on Ghanaians.
But he never spoke about John Dramani Mahama.
He said they were in a hard time. And then they put more burden on Ghanaians by introducing so many taxes. You are aware?
Yes, I know.
So we are, as you are saying, even the young ones, this is not propaganda, this is clear. The young ones, I even seen it. I think you read a reportage that they will scrap the betting tax and those things. I'm expecting that Ken Ofori-Atta should come at the mid-year budget review to come and very accountable to Ghanaians. Should tell us, he and his President John and Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, for 7 years, and this now, the 7 years, what they have done for Ghanaians, we're expecting that Ken Ofori-Atta should put proper measures as a Minister of State, so that the people, the haircut that you're giving to Ghanaians, how can they now give them barbering reason to do proper haircuts? I'm expecting that the the pensioners bond that they are not having accessible to measures they are put in place. If you are talking about World Bank money, the World Bank, after the World Bank, the IMF money actually, the IMF money, I don't want to even talk about it because I have nothing to talk about IMF money, but I'm expecting a better living for an ordinary Ghanaian. I'm expecting accountability to an ordinary Ghanaian.
Some taxes to be scrapped, right?
I'm expecting something substantial that can make an ordinary Ghanaian youth. A youth, a young man who will wake up and get access to one district, one factory, because government has done allocation for one district, one factory. I'm expecting that Ken Ofori-Atta to tell us about the youth, how do you call it? Government has allocated over $1 billion for a youth entrepreneur or something. I'm expecting the accountability of it. I'm also expecting Ken Ofori-Atta to give us a critical analysis on the state of our economy and be honest to ordinary Ghanaians, so that Ghanaians will have hope in the next few coming days. Because we have about 16 months to go to the poll for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to come and take over the government. So there's nothing new. But what I'm expecting is that he should at least, with this short period of time, should give us some little bit of hope so that Ghanaians can also have a living, because times are really hard.
Okay, Osman, your expectation for the mid-year budget review?
First of all, let me say good morning to you and good morning to my friend Studio Richard for the first time we're meeting. Yes, what do I expect from the mid-year budget review? More critically, government is going to look at, not limited to, 3 most important areas: revenue generation, government control expenditure, and then growth. But before I delve into it, I would like to extend my regards and thanks to the people of Ascent Central for the overwhelming acceptance of the Vice President's message to them. You could see that the grassroots has been energized. Unlike what the NDC is making us understand, that even in MPP, the people themselves are demoralized with whatever is going on. But the only one that is going to lead the MPP party to break the eight is no less than a person but Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. This name resonates, and wherever this name is mentioned, you can see that the NDC tries to chicken out, and then they make us believe that this man has nothing to offer. But when we get there, we shall cross. Now, my brother has mentioned a lot of areas that he expects the the finance minister to look at. And then from the beginning, not just to repeat myself, government will look at its revenue because post-COVID, examination of our economy by the IMF actually tasked government to look at revenue generation, which is very important to us because to enable us sustain our economy and then point our indicators towards positive directions, we need to look at how we can generate more revenue to take care of government expenditure. The finance minister also expect the finance minister to look at the budget deficits. Media is to tell us where we have gotten to, and then how we are going to see how we can bridge that gap. And what is more important is government expenditure. How is government going to control expenditure, clear arrears, and then how to control debt accumulation? These are the areas I expect the finance minister will look at. He will also go in to look at our agriculture, which is very important. Another important area is education, oil and gas, and the overall development of our economy. These are the areas I will expect, or I am expecting from the finance minister.
What about the taxes? UTAG has actually come out to say that the COVID-19 levy is a bit too much. Currently, if you go to a restaurant to eat, you pay COVID levy. For what reason? Because we've been told that COVID is no more in existence, but we are still paying taxes on such things. If you're clearing your car at the port, the taxes are humongous. You just ask yourself, why am I paying all these taxes? So are you expecting that? Because you and I are in it, whether we like it or not,
yes.
And we are struggling together.
When you look at it, all these things form part of what we prepared. When COVID broke, government became the most important, or should I even say the biggest insurer and the biggest investor in our social and economic life, especially to protect human life. When the entire economics of this world were shut down, definitely government came in to protect life and property. And in the process of protecting life and property, government incurred a lot of debt. Our debts ballooned, not only in Ghana, but the whole world. When you watch internationally, you've seen how people are demonstrating.
Can we speak to Ghana?
Yeah, I really
want us to stick to Ghana because,
yes.
Some people have made a recovery. Let's talk about Ghana.
Yeah, we're all making the recoveries. And, the recoveries are slow, sure, but we shall get there. And then when this COVID levy was passed, it was actually to cushion government in certain areas. And when it gets, it was a bill that was passed, and then when the time comes, government will take it out. And I believe the finance minister will actually come in because, one, our tax nets must be broadened. Yes. So government is finding ways and means, should I say sustainable ways and means to actually broaden the tax net. And by looking at that, there are some of these taxes that I actually expect government will look at them. Because when we came to government in 2016, 2017, government, had to take care of some of these taxes that we actually label as nuisance taxes. Mm-hmm. And I want Ghanaians to still have hope in this government because this is the government for the people. When we came, we realized that, yes, some of these taxes are choking the ordinary Ghanaian, and we needed to look into them. But along the line, our economy was growing, but some things happened, and we are back to a very slow, or should I say, a 0.5 growth of our economy. So government had to call on Ghanaians to come on board. And by coming on board, you need to take certain measures, though unpleasant, but government had to take certain measures. And so we are getting there. But I believe that as far as the COVID taxes are concerned, government will look at it. Because some time ago, even in Parliament, our parliamentarians raised some issues, and tax experts, all right? Should I say financial experts are also raising issues as far as the COVID-19, taxes are concerned. But when the time comes, I think the government will have a second look at it, and I believe something will be done about that.
Right. Richard, you're done?
But Rosalyn, if that is what we're expecting for the MPP and the government, because he speaks for the government, if that's what we're expecting, then we are doomed as a country. If he's trying to tell us that government has incurred a lot of debts during the post-COVID, Rosalind, the same finance minister was in Parliament, and he told us that after the money we got through the COVID, we had excess of 6 billion, and they used for budgetary support. You are aware. So you can come and sit here and tell us that you've incurred debt. If you're telling the government is now going to look at a tax net, broaden the tax net, I agree with you. I agree with you perfectly. Every country that pays tax we can grow. We are looking at this. That we know the debt to our revenue mobilization to GDP is about 14% as a country, which we all pray that we should be able to mobilize enough revenue to be able to develop the country. But in any case, even the little we are having, people are keeping their rooms. So if you are now going to put more burdens
people always keep money in their rooms.
People keep them in their rooms, ministers of state, which are aware. So if you are now going to put more burden on ordinary person, we have told you, revenue mobilization, fine, but cut down the size of government. You understand? Cut down the size. We go to some agencies, there are 3 deputy CEOs, you go to some ministries.
Are we not the same people? Are we not the same people calling on creation of jobs?
No, so but we are saying cut down the size of government. The government machinery. If you look at the presidential
Are they not working?
Oh no, it's unreasonable. I mean, Rosalind, are you aware? Are you aware? A presidential staffer, a presidential aide, is treated as a deputy minister. You are aware? You are also aware that a presidential staffer is treated as a minister of state. And you go to the presidency, over 1,000 of them are there. Minister of presidential advisor on communication, deputy presidential advisor on communication, presidential advisor on this. Those are unnecessary expenditure. So if government, if kind of is going to tell us that, then there's capital. So most of the deputy CEOs, you go to an agency like Minerals Commission, about 4 deputy CEOs. You go to Forestry Commission, about 3 deputy CEOs. So if government is able to scrap all these unnecessary positions that people are liability on ordinary person in my village, these are the things we're looking at. I mean, if you pay tax and you have a better living, if I pay tax and I have a good condition, I have good health, I have good education, this is fine. It's talking about government is going to look at Ministry of Agriculture. We are telling you that planting for food and jobs alone is not planting for billboards. We brought planting for food and jobs. We went to Canada. We brought about 200 million Canadian US dollars to invest in agriculture. And today, what is the state of it? So we have the rhetorics as too much. Now you are telling us having hope after 7 years. What's the next solution? Even though the next finance minister has not read the budget, but I'm telling the next finance minister is telling you that he's moving the Ministry of Agri and Agribusiness. So you go to a place like Jamaica. I don't know you know about that. If you go to Jamaica, a country, I'm just doing Jamaica as a country. When you get to Jamaica, in the evening, you see all cars parked outside. People are using their garage for mini productions. So we are saying that we are going to do proper agribusiness and make sure we empower individuals to be able to produce.
Will do.
Yeah, the next NDC to be able to produce. So
you're telling us your campaign message?
Yes, to be able to produce. When you produce, the Standard Board and Food and Drug Authority will standardize it, and then we'll be able to export those that want to export and then keep. See, when you invest in agriculture, the productivity.
But that's what Osman said. Osman did say that.
See, any government, I told you here, any government that doesn't look at construction economy, doesn't build microeconomy. You know that. Because when you do construction economy, the microeconomy will build. Osman's junior sister, who is called Amatu, will be able to sell Sobulu or Cocoa. And maybe Adia Fati will be able to sell TZ. So that if you go to Nipa Hiambwa, there's drinking spot, nice spot, somebody can also go and buy drink. It creates microeconomy. But government is not looking at that. What government is looking at consumption. That is what the major problem is. That was how I felt. If the finance minister have not had this vision, we have contacted Cecil John Dramani Mahama to force them who expect, who can do better. We are ready to help. We are waiting to hear. Economy.
We are waiting to hear.
There's nothing I'm going to hear, Rosalind.
Okay, Osman.
You see, my brother, over and over again, the NDC keep on talking about this presidential staffing, and I don't know. Look, President Nana Addo's administration is the administration that has the least presidential staffers from history.
That's not true.
And I'm telling you.
That's not true.
I don't have the statistics here, but it is the least.
No, that's not true.
Yes.
That's not true.
You see, They talk about government cutting size. We have seen...
When you talk about the least, we are talking about the numbers. I thought you were going to give me numbers.
The number, yes.
That's not true.
You know, that's what I'm saying. I don't have it here.
Let me I can help you.
You see,
Richard,
no. Look, I am coming. You see, majority of those staffers they are counting are civil servants who are already employed in the Jubilee House.
I don't understand you.
Most of the staffers that they count as if it is the president, the current administration, that brought them as presidential staffers. Majority of these people are already civil servants who are, already.
They are not staffers?
They are already in the system.
So they are not staffers that he brought in?
They are not staffers that
who occupies the presidential seat and leaves people there? Because if you have to have your staffer, you ought to have people
some of
that
the
you
agencies,
can trust.
some of the agencies, they post, some workers to the Jubilee House. Something like
but
when
it's
you go
still under your administration that you hired them.
Yeah, they are. But look, that's what I'm telling you. That look, the number of people that the president brought as staffers during his administration are the least number that this administration has employed compared to previous administrations.
So they are not new recruitments.
They are not new recruitments. The least, and I'm telling you, I told you, I don't have the fact.
I am
you have your time.
You see, he talks about government cutting, that you should cut the size of government. When we came into office, we used to have deputy regional ministers. We no more have deputy regional ministers. Government has, actually downsized a lot of, its appointees. And when you look at, some of them had to even give up to 30% of their salaries. Government officials have to give about 30% of their salaries. These are the measures government has put in place as far as, the general hardship is concerned. And government has admitted that, yes, we are not in normal times. We are actually facing the heat. Government has admitted it. But you see, the NDC go on to make it look like this is just peculiar to this administration. Your government went to IMF. We went to IMF because of post-COVID-19 effects.
But we're told you never go.
We were told we would never go because we needed to put certain measures in place because you have to look at your domestic revenue mobilization. And that is why we wanted Ghanaians to come on board as far as the e-levy was concerned.
But is it not only right that you tell Ghanaians that, listen, we are looking at ABC. You are not the finance minister, so I can't hold you. But my point is
government made it categorically clear.
Yes, my point is that when you're dealing with people and you tell them categorically, I will not, in capitals, people believe that you will not. And people even made memes. This is a case where we had the president come out to say, we might take a look at IMF. We had a finance minister come out and say, just what, within some hours, come out and say, we will not go. And Ghanaians actually believed it. And then the next thing is, we are being told again that when we try to fix it, it didn't work, so now we are going. You try to fix it. So probably at that time, what communication should have gone out should have been, oh, we will try to fix it. But if it doesn't work, we will go to IMF.
You see, we were sure that the NDC, that never even believed there was COVID-19, would have supported government's agenda in that
What has
area.
the NDC got to do with what we're talking about?
You see,
here?
we all know how the NDC came out and poo-pooed government, this e-levy thing. We have seen how it dragged.
It wasn't just the NDC.
Oh, yes.
It was Ghanaians, because Ghanaians felt that they were going to feel too much. Probably the education, let me just say like this, maybe at that time, the education on the e-levy was not too good for Ghanaians. And so most Ghanaians were boycotting it because they did not understand it.
When we're implementing this Ghana card, we have the NDC that came out and told its people never to go and register for this Ghana card. Was the communication appropriate for Ghanaians or not at that time? When they tried to implement it and they couldn't, we had the then secretary, now chairman of the NDC, came out and told NDC supporters and sympathizers. And I believe people like Sam George still pride themselves that they don't even have Ghana card. This is the attitude of a group of people we have when we are moving forward and we needed to go together. Look, parliaments cannot function in isolation as far as the majority or the minority is concerned. You cannot say that, parliament, the majority will have to sit down and just debate on things by themselves and go on and pass. They are a representation of their people. And they have come in to make sure, because they have categorically said it, they will do everything possible to stall government's progress. And they have said it. They didn't hide it. It is no secret. The NDC made it categorically clear. And I want one statement. If you can tell me one statement since the inception of this government, if the NDC has ever lauded this government in all the policies government has initiated. None. So you see, we expected that, let's move together as a nation. The politics in this country, personally, is not helping us in some direction. Some people want power at all costs, and whatever they will have to do, even if people will die for them to get power,
Osman, they will do it. Me?
But I understand.
Will you agree with me, Osman, that when you are putting taxes on people, or you are incurring taxes on people, or telling people to pay ABCD amount of money, forget about politics.
Yes.
Ordinarily, people will not accept it. Ordinarily. I'm saying this because you said that the NDC is trying to fight ABCD and all of that. When you were in opposition, we heard the current vice president speak about too many taxes that were a burden on Ghanaians.
Yes.
We heard it categorically stated. Now you come to power. You know, when your first few years, you scrap some taxes, things were okay and all of that. Now taxes start coming in. E-levy starts coming. You think Ghanaians will not be the same people that will tell you that? I get you, but I'm saying that because of the kind of campaign message that came across, Ghanaians will now start feeling that you lied to them. Yes, there might be circumstances. That is why you decided to do this. But that's how Ghanaians will feel. Don't you think so?
No, I don't think so. Ghanaians will not feel we lied to them because we never promised Ghanaians that there wouldn't be anything like COVID-19. It wasn't part of our campaign. These are uncertainties.
So that's why your message should have gone out well, I think.
And look, the e-levy education has actually gone in. Just that we have a recalcitrant, opposition that actually came out and said, look, let's make this government hot. And they started it. We saw what happened in Parliament. So you see, I would definitely, in every economy, anytime government want to mobilize revenue in the area of taxes, definitely the citizens will actually resist it.
I'm being a little bit hard on you. We'll talk a little bit about the e-levy here.
Yeah.
Again, you spoke about the fact that we needed to bring e-levy to help cushion us because we're struggling, right? Now, we had road taxes. Why did you scrap it? Where we had to pay road tolls. We could have paid the road tolls to be able to sustain us. We had it being scrapped and brought in the e-levy. Why so?
No, we couldn't tax Ghanaians or the citizenry on two
We were making more money on the road levies.
We were making more money on the road tolls, and then government was even finding it difficult in getting the numbers.
But even whatever they were making, it was still more than what they claimed for the first year they made from e-levy.
Yes, government couldn't have allowed the road tolls to be there when we are not generating, the expected amount of money that we expected from the road tolls, and trying to introduce other taxes. So you needed to cancel one and see how you can introduce another one that would catch the broader number of the citizens.
But did we achieve it?
We could not achieve it as expected because it was as a result of introducing the e-levy that we think that, we will be broadening the tax nets, and that will enable us not to go to the IMF. But you could see that, we were developing, our GDP was developed around 7.something%, and all of a sudden came back to 0.5%. And it wasn't normal at all. You could see how, our currency was depreciating in 2022 in a galloping manner. So we expected to do, or should I say, take certain emergency situations, because there's a saying that emergency situations deserves emergency actions to actually cushion Ghanaians at that particular time. Yes, some of us, or should I say, people in the urban areas who are moving up and are those who are actually feeling it.
Okay.
Because of this movement. But government has done a lot. Government has actually cut in its size. Government has certain expenditures. Certain expenditure has been slight and all those things. And it's all towards that direction.
Right.
And I believe that going forward, as far as this media budget review is concerned, government will further, because the vulnerable, it is the taking care of the vulnerable in our society is very key in government's agenda, as far as the growth of this economy is concerned.
All right.
Because we cannot move and then leave those who can, the vulnerable in society behind. We need to move along with them. And government, this media review will actually look at those areas, and then we shall bring everyone on board.
Right, that's fantastic.
Rosa,
just a minute.
Yeah, if that is the case.
So that I can move on to my next
If that's the case, then you have not been fair to Ghanaians, because, Rosa, you are aware that this government told us we're going to move from taxation to productive economy.
Times have changed.
And it has
Russia-Ukraine war came,
Russia-Ukraine war has done what? I want to tell you that, you see, a reasonable government, when Russia-Ukraine war came, everybody moved from every sector of economy to good economy. You are aware. And the gold prices were high in this. And Ghana was the largest producer of gold in Africa here, sixth in the world. What measure did the government do? You can check Minerals Commission revenue mobilization from the gold production, about $200 million per annum at that time. Government told us that they were going to move a sector of productive. So we're thinking that when you put productivity in place, that you expand the factories and companies in this country, it will do so. But you know, President John Dramani Mahama, what they did that, yes, he went for policy credibility, went to IMF. Every government, from President Nkrumah to Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And you know that from President Kwame Nkrumah to President John Dramani Mahama administration, the IMF went for $3.1 billion. But Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo alone went for $3 billion. You understand? So these are things, because we were thinking about building a shift economy.
We all know that when the IMF money came in, we've seen the stabilization of the city. We've seen, fuel prices being stabilized.
This artificial circulation. I mean,
it can't be artificial
circulation.
When it was bad, we spoke about it. Why can't we just say it?
What is happening? Do you know why you have the stabilization of economy? The government suspended debt payment. So definitely you have this.
It's good for now.
It is clearly artificial.
Until we start going down, we know it's not artificial.
If you have a government, that interest rate is about 30% now. So a lot of people have done capital flight. You saw a lot of companies have been closed and moved out of this country. So these are things you should know, that if the dollar is stabilized and the economy become more harder, because productivity is low. You understand? So this government has no vision. Like President John Dramani Mahama did. We went for loan and went to Etuabo Gas. Etuabo Gas is creating four-shift economy job. You know that. And we are making over $300 million per month for government of Ghana. You look at Terminal 3. Terminal 3 is creating about four-shift economy. You go to Rich Hospital, look at the number of economies it's creating.
Okay,
so if you have a government that will put measures in place like this, there will be a stabilization of the economy.
There are measures being put in place.
And this government has also, we are saying that when we come, we are going to make sure that we'll cut the size of government. 60 ministers, not more than 60 ministers.
Okay.
President John Dramani Mahama used 20 presidential staffers to govern. This government is over 1,000.
You used what?
20 presidential staffers. I'm being honest with you. Go and check your record. I am telling you. Go and check your record. 20 presidential staffers. I'm telling you. No doubt about that. Okay. If you want, I'll give you the names. You go to now over 1,000 presidential staffers.
Give us the names. Give us the 20 names.
I can clearly give you the names of the president.
So as you're searching for it, let's move on to our next topic. We know that today, of course, the finance minister will give the mid-year budget review. Fingers crossed as to what will be in there. Our next topic has to do with the cancer cases on the rise. We currently have 40,000 cases yearly. When I saw it, I got very alarmed. I'm just wondering, what are we not doing right? Is it our GMO foods? Is it that we are living certain lifestyles that we ought to be very careful about? Is it to do with pollution? What is really happening? Why these cases? Why are we recording such cases? Let me start with you, Osman.
Yes, before I answer that, I want my brother Richard to understand that when you are moving an economy to an economy of productivity, of production, it is not an event. It's a process. And I will want to refer Richard to a book on the economists on China, how China got to where they are today. We call it The Straits of Dragon. You should go and read that book. And it will help him appreciate when you are moving, an economy from consumption to production. You see, when we brought in from taxation to production, when we brought in that policy of one district, one factory, we said it's going to be a PPP arrangement. You see, so you identify some of these resources in those areas and see how you can develop on them. And it is not an event where you think that, oh, I have come in 2 years and 3 years, oh, I have set it, so you just start feeling the impact. You are not doing actually anything.
Let's move on to our next topic.
With regards to the
40,000 cancer cases recorded yearly. I'm even scared.
I'm scared because I think we need to have a real look at our lifestyle, and I'll call on our research institutions like Noguchi to go into it and actually look at the causes. Why is there a rise in cancer cases in the system? Because when you go back about 15 to 20 years ago, we used not to experience or record some of these things. Why now? For me, I would like to look at it. Though I'm not a scientist, I'm not in that field of medicine, but I am thinking it's lifestyle, and we need to have a real look at our lifestyle, the food we consume. You know, Ghana, when you look at it, a lot of the things we consume are imported. And most of these things seems to be an imported
What about
cases.
fertilizers? Do we have the right fertilizers that we are using to farm the produce that we are giving out? Because these whole genetically modified foods and all of that, you know, currently Russia has scrapped it. Russia says no GMO foods in Russia because they've realized that it's giving cancer.
Yes, so that's why I'm calling on institutions like Noguchi. That is their specialty. That's their area. They should come in and, you know, do a proper research into it for us to also understand. But you see, until we make effort to change our way of life, because I have seen that in Ghana we consume a lot of imported food, and most of these foods that we import are GMO foods. You see, my mother or my old lady in the village doesn't know anything about genetically modified food. Whatever she gets, she consumes it. And some of these things starts from the rural areas. There are no even the proper machines to even identify it, early detection of these things. One time I had a friend's sister who had to undergo a breast surgery because she had breast cancer. And I witnessed the pain she was going through. One time she just told me, Osman, I just want this thing to be cut off for me to rest. There I felt her pain. And then you want to go in and know what is the cause of these things. Our scientists are not coming out to tell us anything. And it is high time they go into it and do a proper research. Because some of these things are preventable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are preventable. And then when you get to know that, this and that is what causes cancer, at least people will begin trying to stay away from it. And then let's also try to go towards our organic way of life. Let's start patronizing our own foods here, because until we do that, we will continue having or facing this kind of imported cases. Because when you study our cancer in the United States, it is one thing that is, actually taking the lives of a lot of
exactly. We all thought that it was a disease that was not very rampant right here in Ghana. But now 40,000 cases being recorded yearly, annually. I'm very scared, Richard.
Rosen, clearly, these cancer issues are quite culture imperialism. Clearly, that's what I look at it in that angle. I think that all this is, as my brother is saying, Osman knows very well. When we were in the northern region, we use our green pepper, grind it and use our shea butter and have a good meal. But today, you go to the market, go to Abu Busha, buy palm oil. It's full of sodium, very mixed, everything adulterated. You go use roasting in the evening, you go to ANC more, and you see people are eating something that is not fit into our environment. And all
like
this of the junk food we eat and we go to your microwaves we use, all those things are not fit into the environment in which we are. Pollution in the area. And so you don't meet the standardization of what you eat. And that's what is giving us all these situations. And I think that all we need to do is the government have to go deeply in the research of agriculture and agricultural institutions. We should encourage the people in our backyard garden things. If you go to my house in Nkwanda, we eat everything from the house. You understand? Everything is eaten from the house. But even the chicken and those things we buy, sometimes ago you heard and the FDA have to impound some fruits and some other things we consume in this country. 90% of our food we consume here are imported to this country. We don't really consume what we have, and what we have is very genetic, it's organic, and it's very healthy. So if you continue to be a white man in Ghana, you also continue to increase the cancer cases. And clearly, these are cases that have been recorded through the hospital. If you look at other people that died through cancer unknowingly, it will surprise you.
What about banning of GMO foods? I'm thinking about that.
I think the GMO food, I cannot clearly say that because sometimes it might be scary. I think some time ago when the GMO bill was going to pass in Parliament, a lot of us stood against it.
Yes.
A lot of us stood against it. Listen, I can tell you, for some time I have not taken tomatoes. Because the tomatoes you consume here, if you go to my village in Bonache, it's a different tomatoes. The pineapple you consume here, if you go to some villages, you will see, you hear the flavor of the pineapple or mango and those things. So the GMO, clearly maybe research must really come out about it again. That one, I don't want to see what I don't know about it. But I think that the imperialism is too much.
Yeah.
And we must look at
because
it.
I'm not a scientist, but common knowledge will tell me that GMO tells you when you give it to the food, it grows quickly.
Yes.
It gives it, more juice, it becomes yummy and everything. So quicker growth.
Yeah, quicker growth.
When you take excess folic acid as a pregnant woman, what happens is that because folic acid is supposed to help you, the child, iron and everything. Yeah. What happens is that if you overtake it, there's a possibility your child will develop an excess finger or excess toe or something. There's always that possibility. Yeah. So then if I am eating something that is given to, either animals or given to plants that is supposed to reproduce, and cancer is where there's excess growth in you. Yeah. Now you're consuming this into your body. As human, won't it produce that excess growth into either your liver, into your stomach, into your breast, something somewhere?
It's possible. It's also a factor that might happen. I don't want to talk about things that will scare the public. That's why I'm being very careful. Yeah, but I think that's what I'm saying, that as we say, Noguchi and other research institutions must come out with it. I think that our institutions has a responsibility. And this is the country we have all the agencies and institutions in play, but sometimes we don't even know the research. The government must involve much into research. Look, as a nation, I've always said something, Rosalind. The white man came to tell us about HIV. Then we started using the protective sex. But at a time has come that we got the antiretroviral. Now they brought CS. You know that every woman that want to go through CS, and CS research also shows that you can't give birth more than 4. You know that at least 3, 4, 5 is okay. It's sometimes they find a way to reduce our population as well. So we should be looking at it. In
this economy, how do you go and give birth more than 4? Richard.
But it's always good. It's always good to give birth with more children, because I use my family as an example.
How many?
We are 28.
Huh?
Yes.
Your father gave birth to 28?
28, yeah. We are all doing well. So.
How many wives?
4 wives.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
So that's why I promote polygamy.
So how many wives do you have?
And they are coming. When they count,
how many do you have now?
When they count,
currently, how many?
When they count, they'll come.
But how many children do you have, Richard? Currently, how many?
When they count, they'll come.
I want to add to my brother's call for our research institutions. One thing we are not making very good use of is research and development in every aspect of our economy.
Yeah.
This is what is moving the developed world. Research and development. Until you know what is happening, whether it has happened before or not, how is it handled, we will not be able to predict the future. So I want to call on government to see how they can invest more in research and development in all our institutions, not only on health, even in agric, police service, all those institutions that provide services to the survival of human beings must all, pay more attention to research and development. Today, even FDA, they should even be doing more research in most of these things that are being imported.
Yes.
For all you know, it might not even be in the food that we eat, but some of the drugs that we even take. just like you said, we can take a drug a particular drug that is supposed to handle or treat a particular disease can actually, resurrect or even bring another complications. As long as so far it is treating another one, it is bringing another disease, and if not detected earlier, is what will even kill you.
Yeah, the side effects of
the side effects.
Medicines.
Yes, so we need to look at a lot of these things. And today, when you look at it, our Ghanaian market is flooded with a lot of foreign drugs, especially from China.
Yeah. It's another angle.
Yes, it's a big one.
It's a big one.
I don't know what the Ghana Standard Authority and Food and Drugs.
So
they need to go deep into this. You see, let's not do armchair analysis and just leave it as that, because Ghanaians is like that is what we are very good at. We talk about something today, then we leave it, we make it history, and then the next day. Yes.
What is coming to my mind is that I think that institutions must work, really. Because institutions must work. Because one of the major problems I've also realized is that, as we are talking, some of the agencies, instead of them to go and do proper standardization of what we consume, they would rather go and take money and let it go. You understand? So we must take a critical look at our ports. What will bring out of the port? I think that this issue should be voluntarily done by the BNI and the national security. These are national security issues. 40,000 cancer cases. We spend a lot yearly. So we spend a lot. State revenue really goes there, and some individuals will come and take money and put in their pocket. So,
anyway, some messages coming in on social media pages and also on our WhatsApp line. If you also have a message, you can send in your message, and definitely would love to read it. Good morning to you and your distinguished guests. The NPP rep should tell us how much the government has saved from the deduction of the salary of the appointees. NPP has done worse in opposition than the NDC. Sami from Achimota. Okay, Sami. Good morning to you. If some time back, some of us were against the IMF deal and some were for, but in the end, the government was able to get IMF board approval of $3 billion bailout within the same political administration. That's within the same era. A member of this political administration, a high-profile personality, just reported that $1 million, 300,000 euros, and millions of CDs were stolen in her bedroom. Even the victim cannot quantify the exact CD stolen, which stands to reason that, one, we have a porous security network system that monitors the daily dealing of our top government officials. Two, it's obvious that this said stolen amount may have a link or connection with a corrupt deal, and I suggest that, one, the government should permit or approve private investigators to investigate into the said matter. Two, all government officials, both past and present, should undergo serious investigations just to identify or find out whether theirs have been any form of corrupt deals in their work or not. Not exclude declaration of assets and financial statement. This is from Aaron Baba Kokomisa. Location, Accra. All right, thank you. Madam Host, if you pay taxes at the port, you should ask why former President Mahama gave the port to a French businessman for $7 billion for 35 years. This is from Ajenim Boateng Domipila too. All right. So we're still going on and on and on. You can still send in your messages, and of course, we'll definitely read it and hear from our reps from the two political parties here. But another conversation that we ought to also talk about, as we're talking about all of these, there's another conversation also that has been lingering, talking about the accident that happened. Of course, NDC MP Kwabena Menta Akando, who was involved in near-fatal accident at Ninahin. You heard about it. Yeah. Thank God he's alive, though.
Yeah, it's a terrible one. I don't know whether you know Ninahin.
I don't know that. I've never been there.
Ademra, I go to Agogoso. I go to Ninahin. I think I was going. That's Kumasi.
Stretch.
No. So it's from it's not Kumasi Stretch. It's from when you're coming out from Ninahin is a suburb of Kumasi. That's a Chimampunia constituency. So, and it's a very good route too. I know, but I'm told that it was a crash with a Sprinter car.
So what is being told is that his driver tried to overtake a car, and in the course of overtaking, their tire burst. So they ran into another car. So it was a head-on collision.
Yeah, in a Sprinter car.
Yes.
And I think that's, I'm told that there was no death reported,
but
and
there's
then
been some,
injuries, and then therefore we are
severe injuries because the drivers are in critical condition.
So I mean, we just pray and hope that they get well, and then that's what it is.
Does it end there? What about reckless driving? Do you think there was any form of reckless driving there?
I can't tell now. I can't tell by now, but I think that most of the times too, some of our drivers, the way they also drive on their roads, because I know that stretch very well. It's a very, very good road. It's not a road that will say maybe it's a bad road and those things. But most of the times, the good roads are also where we get most accident cases reported. So I think that's I've always been advocating something. Number one, too, our GPR2 system. There should be a total reformation, because sometimes you go and join a car in a bus station and the driver is in a drinking spot waiting, and then when they take the drink and then it puts snuff and come and sit there, say that's what giving them power. So accident is accident actually, but we should also have to be very, very, very careful, because the road carnage is more death recorded there than even HIV and other cases in this country. So I would want to urge every driver, and that it's quite unfortunate actually, but they should find a way. And another thing I should also want to advise on accidents is that car owners should not put much pressure on drivers too, because sometimes the sales and other things give them much of the frustrations. They have to run around to be able to have a living. You know that these drivers we have now, the driver can be working for 100 years. I'm just using a word. But when he loses his job 1 week, it becomes a very terrible situation for them. So we should find a way. There should be a comprehensive insurance for them, and so that they also have patience and the reckless driving to say. And the private businessmen who have drivers and those things, you also have to take a proper care of your drivers. Because when they take proper care of them, they also have to be very careful. Sometimes the way we also treat our drivers are very, 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 very bad.
Right.
So next time, treat your driver well is very important.
Yes, I would like to also sympathize with the Member of Parliament, Mr. Honorable Kwabena Minta Kando, right? Yes. And then
it's a ranking, no?
On health.
Yes.
I understand. And then, it is high time we also look at the way we move on our roads, especially our honorables. The speed at which they go. They see speed thrills, but it kills. And then we have to be careful, especially when you look at where the area the accident happened. It's a busy road.
Very busy road.
Yes. And then sometimes when we get to that, we need to at least slow down a little bit.
That road, there's a lot of heavy trucks there because it moves to Cote d'Ivoire. And that's where the mining, the manganese and those things are basically mined from that area. So,
and then when you are on top speed and get to an even part of the road, if you don't add prayer to it in a very, experienced driver, you will definitely lose your directional control. And so some of these things, we need to slow down and not be hard on our drivers. Sometimes when you get to your destination safe, no matter whether, even if you are late for a meeting or whatever, it's far better than getting there in pieces. So I would like to urge others who are always on the road and the speed at which they go, at least they should always slow down. So, but you can see that government is extending a lot of these roads. It is high time we have our highways, actually have 2 or 3 lanes. And then we need to also look at it. Yes, broaden the...
That's so true.
But it's one of President Mohammed's vision, dualizing the routes to all the regional capitals so that we can move.
For 8 years, we have seen what.
Oh yeah. I'm just telling you. I don't know why Richard as always. we are actually talking about this man. We are talking about accidents on the road. You just brought in John Dramani Mahama.
No, but it's one of our visions.
We hear you. We hear you. Okay, we hear you. Now let's talk about our next topic, where the whole homoing and stuff in secondary schools. How many of you were all of you in boarding houses?
Oh yeah, I was.
So you experienced
had free education.
The bullying.
So we attended You attended school in London?
Yes,
Which school?
yeah. I attended Boko Secondary School.
Oh, Boko, so he had free education.
You also had free
Yeah,
education?
I had free education.
Okay, right. You are lucky. I didn't have free education.
But
My parents had to pay.
You had Cocoa scholarship?
No idea. Well, we know there's been a lot of bullying in secondary schools.
Yes.
A recent one is the one that happened in Adi school where a young man choked his colleague in school and ended up hitting his face to a metal bed. We know he's supposed to appear in court this week as well. That's his second appearance. It's come up where, you know, even some educationists are proposing that boarding system should be scrapped. Of course, it's been reported in front of the Daily Graphic newspaper today. And of course, another person also coming out, that is a public health expert in CDD. Sorry, Dr. Yaupebi. It's the one, he's not the public health expert, please forgive me. Dr. Yaupebi has also spoken about the bullying in secondary schools, and he's trying to tell us that we ought to take a critical look at it. I had a conversation with someone just yesterday, about this video, and the person said, oh, you haven't seen anything, this is something very little. Because in our time, somebody was even locked in a chop box, the person nearly died. So this has been happening, but this is just a revelation of what we've seen. Do you agree with the scrapping of boarding system, or you think that there are other ways and means to help prevent the bullying system? Let me start with you, Osman.
Yes, I would like to differ a little bit from those who are calling for the scrapping of the boarding system. I have read some, comments on the social media why others are even saying that in this day and age, Ghana is still, having this boarding system in our education, especially in the high schools. That it's only in Ghana. But when you look at our system and our upbringing, there are a lot of reasons why we needed to go to boarding school. One time I was even telling somebody some of the reasons why we have to wear uniform. Most of these French schools, they don't wear uniform. Yes, the reason the boarding school system has a lot of impact on students' upbringing, because you have students from different backgrounds, different cultures, who needs to integrate, who need to live with one another. They need to understand one another's background, wherever we are coming from. We need to get educated, So we needed to do what we call participation in living with one another. So when you bring students from different backgrounds in one particular locations, besides just giving them the education, there is, the social aspect that we are not actually taking a critical look at, which is very, very important. That is where networking begins. I know a lot of people today who have traveled somewhere and came back. They came to offices, and then you just want someone to facilitate something for you, and it is your old schoolmate you have lived with. We have seen it, and it has actually improved a lot of people. You see, there is no system that is perfect. There's no system that doesn't have the ups and downs of it. Social media and technology has actually brought out a lot of these things that we are seeing. Just like the one that I told you, there are a lot of things that are going on in our boarding houses that we are not aware of. But does that mean that the entire system is bad? No, we cannot use an isolated case and say the entire system is so bad. It is rather unfortunate the student had to go into this. But I will want to call on Ghana Education Service to have a real look at some of the policies that they have introduced.
What are some of the policies?
Students, power have been taken away from school management. When something like this happens, you have to invite the police to come. When we start introducing the police, our environment, our system, our Ghanaian system, our African way of life, you start bringing the police into the school system, you are kind of introducing some fear. And when students begin, start becoming used to the police, and they get out of school and they are now in the society, they now see that, they are just our friends, and
That the police is our friend.
Oh yeah, the police is supposed to be our friend, but they're supposed to also protect life and property.
Yeah, but
in the presence of the police, when you are doing wrong, in the presence of the police, is supposed to send a signal to you that, there's a law enforcement agency here. That fear must be there.
But if
let me say that respect must be there. You see, when we introduce the police into the system, we are telling, because the student that is in school, the teacher becomes the parent of that student. Everything about that child is up to the teacher. So if you see, if we are bringing the foreign system whereby even in the house, the child can call the police on the parents, I don't know what we are doing.
But that's not what it is. That's not what it is in our secondary schools. Because the school management definitely has a hand in, decision making. They made a decision where they suspended the young man before the police came in. The police only came in because they saw a video
during our times.
Yeah.
You dare not do. You see,
because we're not seeing the video, so the police was not involved. If you bully me and I report it to my parent, and my parent take it to the police will definitely arrest you.
I read somewhere when they were even saying that it took 4 weeks for the victim's parents to even get to know about it.
Yeah.
Meaning it was hidden
by the public, not from the school, but by whoever recorded it. The person didn't show it until it went out there.
So that is the importance of technology. Now bringing some of the ills that we are seeing. So we need to put certain policies in place to take care of this. Let's encourage students to always report. They should report. At least when someone comes out to report about bullying, we should take steps to protect that person.
That is what I want.
You see, yes, we should take steps to protect that person and let them understand that, look, if you dare bully somebody, a weaker person, there is somebody who will be on you and you will face the consequences of it. You see, it should be immediate. But the integration, look, if you're stronger than someone doesn't necessarily mean you have to bully the person. At least you have to take the person like your sister or your brother or wherever you find yourself.
Let me bring Richard in.
Listen, I watched the video actually, and it was terrible video. It's unpleasant, and I think that we can't put such videos in the public. I mean, these are things we should also know. Number one, it is the content in which we put out there. This is one of the factors that happens. That's why, as a media personnel, you should do content filtering before you can put in the public domain. Because most of the children that grow up, the movies they watch at home, those things they watch at this, and they will go to schools and implement. That doesn't mean that we should scrap the boarding system. Because as my brother said, Osman said, I have a lot of friends in Accra here. Since I came to Accra, I've met a lot of friends who I have been in a secondary school with. So when I came to Accra, I didn't really suffer it like this. And I had friends who had families, which I can even go to their families and not rely on them because we're attending the same school. We're in the same boarding system. We build family, we build relation, not even from your tribes. And even sometimes you have good relationship with some of your mates than even your family members at home. So for the boarding system, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a very good thing. That's what, with the wisdom of Kwame Nkrumah, he brought a boarding system because whether you are from the north, you are from the south, you can intermarry, you can speak. I can speak so many languages.
How do we curb this bullying in the school?
So, but bullying in the school, it has always been there.
Yes, so how do we curb it now?
It has always been there, but I think that this debate is about what actually happened now. That's what's bringing the debate. There are so many contents we have not seen. There are a lot of things that happen in the boarding schools now we don't even see. Recently, remember, the young girls were insulting the president, which just came to a public domain. So these are things that is happening. I think that the system is that we should put proper structures because this thing happened. Senior house father was not there. When we were in school, actually every night, senior house father will come out and then check and find out what is happening in the schools. So when we put proper structure, that's what they are saying, not taking power from the school authority, rather giving the power to the school authority. It's a parental home actually. In the boarding house, it's a total parental home where your housemaster has his proper role to play, your senior house father has proper role to play. But then it's another factor I also realize that when you pack in students, the free education is not a bad policy. You pack in students without a proper structure, all these things will happen. It's not only about heating. There was a time when you heard of food poisoning. There's a time we heard a lot of things. So we are thinking that we want to do quality education. That's what we're going to review.
We are asking about how do we curb the bullying. The bullying has been there for a long time. I don't know where you are going with this thing. It has not gone this way. That's what I'm saying. We have nothing to do with food poisoning. Our conversation has nothing to do with food poisoning.
No, what I'm saying is that so we are going to review the senior schools.
What can be done now? Give your suggestion. What can be done now to be able to curb this whole bullying? Because we are not waiting to hear of any death before we make a decision. This is all of us. Our children are in school.
So that's why I'm giving the solution.
No, don't tell us when you come into power.
Bullying is a social behavior. It has nothing to do with packing of students in dormitories or whatever.
So,
there are others who have the instincts. There are others who have the instincts of just trying to exert pressure on weaker people. It has nothing to do with whether they are crowded in the dormitories or not. And when you look at those, when you were in your dormitory, the same arrangement they have is the same arrangement we had. So, look, it has nothing to do with free SHS. Free SHS is one of the best systems we have.
Let's not talk about free SHS. It has nothing to do with it.
We are not talking about. That's what I'm saying, that when you ask, when you were able to expand the institution, because now there are a lot of students were told that are now in the boarding system because of the free education. But when you don't put in proper structure, there will not be a proper monitoring. You understand? So that's why the new NDC is going to put in better structures in the schools.
What structure are we talking about
making sure we have a proper structure to make sure that the dormitories are enough. We have more teachers in the school. We have people that will monitor the counseling system. The school counseling system to be put in place. All these things will even though you can't stop it totally, but it will come down. When we were in schools, I know those days we were in secondary school. Now you're 25. We were in secondary schools. Those days, we were doing mowing when a senior can punish you and those things. But now those structures are not there. If you watch the video, when they were even hitting the young man, the other people were sitting there and saying, "Oh, nobody could have not been able to even rescue them." So that if the discipline is not there, it's where we'll get to. But we'll look at it properly and see what we can do to make sure the school system works.
All right. Okay, so we'll quickly go into our next topic. Let's quickly delve into it, where the health sector is saying that anytime it comes to health, the government actually uses it for campaign message, but when it's time to, when they are in power, they never handle it. This is not to do with one political party, it's to do with both political parties, because the health sector is highly spoken about when campaign time is up, but when you get the power, nobody speaks about health sector again. Keeps deteriorating, beds, the buildings are not being refurbished and all of that. So, Osman, your take on it?
Yes, as far as the health sector is concerned, I think this government has made significant investments as far as our health sector is concerned. We have brought in policies to actually augment the already existing, systems that we have. It's all about, improving the health sector. I can't say we have done 100% as far as it's concerned. We have population growth. As far as population is growing, at least there will be pressure on our existing health infrastructure. But this government has invested a lot, about this drone system. We have a lot of areas that are not motorable. Even accessing those areas, you need to cross, rivers and all those things. And that is why in the wisdom of our current vice president, we introduced this drone system, which has never been in that. We have a situation whereby we lacked a lot of ambulances in this system, and the government has introduced it. We are refurbishing a lot of, hospitals, completing most of these hospitals that were even abandoned. It all adds up to improving our health sector.
So what he's saying is not, the man is saying is not true?
I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying that we cannot say, we have done 100%.
Okay.
But we have added, some improvements on our already existing health infrastructure. Right. It is an ongoing thing. It's a going concern. And then we have done a lot. Government has invested a lot. Government will continue to invest a lot. You see, when former President Kufuor introduced this health insurance system, the government came out with a policy to expand some of these regional hospitals and then build some new health infrastructure. And those are the Euroges projects that after the exit of President Kufuor, we've never seen the completion of them until this government came. And the government has invested a lot. You see, when you look at most of the regional hospitals, you go to Upper East and look at the Bolgatanga Regional Hospital and go and see what is going on there. Very marvelous.
Right.
One has been, commissioned in Upper West, the Wa Regional Hospital. we have invested significantly, and then government will continue to do. As we speak, we have, NHI, health insurance arrears that the government has actually paid arrears and will continue to clear off all those arrears.
Right.
These are all significant investments government is doing.
Okay.
And I believe that in the near future, when Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Mahama takes over, at least significant investment will continue to take Ghana to the promised land.
What's his name again? Dr.
Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia.
You said Mahama?
Mahamudu.
Because
He said Mahama.
Okay. You actually did say Mahama though. You said Bawumia Mahama. So that's why I asked. So because you mentioned the two names together. All right.
But so because of the Alhaji,
Rosalie, health sector, as they are saying, is a very critical area we should be looking at. And then, as they are saying that politicians use health for their campaign promises, and when they win power, they leave them. Because, one of the sectors that you can critically look at where politicians use much in elections is health and education. Because number one, that's where they pull a lot of votes, the teachers and nurses. So these are the things critically politicians, and the fact of the matter, you can't do away with the fact. A voter is a politician's client, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You can't do away with that one. That one obviously can't do it. But a politician's duty is also when you win power, you handle every sector of the economy that you promise the people to do. And so when the Ghana Health Service is saying that the health worker is, I don't know what is Ghana Health Service or
it's CDD.
Yes, CDD is saying that the use, I don't know the research they've actually conducted. Is it the welfare of the nurses? Is it the welfare of doctors? Is it the health infrastructure?
It's a holistic conversation on health.
On health. So those are the critical things we should look at, and sometimes we also have to appreciate politicians as well. In as much as you have your perception, you have to also appreciate some politicians who have done marvelously in the health sector. I've worked in the health sector for years, and I critically know what it takes in the health sector. The fatigue alone, the sacrifice alone, it's not easy to be there. Actually, it is never easy to be in the health sector, because I remember a case in a hospital, in a theater, when the cases like typhoid perforation or fistula, they are doing such cases. Even if you are not even strong, you can't stand in the theater to conduct such surgery. So I believe that we should look at the welfare of if the welfare of the doctors or the scrub nurses or the nurses or the anesthetists is not good, the CDD should have tell us and know, tell every politician what we have to add up to their life.
All right.
Because I recall that the policies of the health sector should always be reviewed, and I think the welfare of the nurses is bad. I mean, to be honest with you, it is not the best. So that is why we in NDC, and then the NDC was able to say, my brother was talking about putting structures and NDC was the only government that revamped the health infrastructure in this country, which you are aware, Rosalie.
All right.
So we are looking at. So Rosalie, you gave me enough time.
My time is up, actually.
Rosalie, but you remember,
you've really spoken. So my time is up. So I have to round up my conversation.
In less than a minute, you see, when you look at a place like Dodua, those areas, the women were dying through labor. It was a very common thing. If you go to Kwadiabe and those areas. So the NDC board have 100 bed capacity, specialized in maternity, actually. And you can look at that structure. Rosalie, if you go to, that's why the NDC was able to put over 1,000 cheap compounds. Listen, but you know one thing.
Okay, so we have to say a very big thank you to our guests who have been here today. Richard will keep on going on and on and on. But Osman, thank you so much for being here. Osman Kariama came on the ticket of the NPP, and of course, Richard Manurubi came on the ticket of the NDC. I mean, when it comes to Richard, he can talk the whole day. So if I don't stop him, we'll keep on talking and talking. But gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you again next week.